Hey, what's up guys, the Explanation Pro is here. Today, I'll explain a Russian comedy superhero movie, Superpower. Spoilers incoming! The movie begins with a meteor on its way to Earth. We see two men on a boat next to a cargo ship. Valera, who's on the ship, is asking Oleg if they can bump him up to 1 ton of caviar. The other man who's with him pipes up that they can only carry up to 600 kilos. Oleg approaches him to tell him that he can add 10,000 more if he agrees. Oleg goes to call Valera so they can talk better about the new deal. As they're going back, the boat starts sinking slowly. The other man Oleg was with jumps off the boat. They lose all the caviar. Back at the shore, Oleg pays the man. As they're talking, his phone starts ringing with a call from Valera. At the bank, Oleg is talking to Svetka. He tells her that they could take out a loan to pay off another loan. Svetka points out that no one will give him a penny without a stable wage or guarantors. Oleg then tells her to just pass the money she's counting to him so they can solve their problem. She agrees, then sarcastically tells him that he could pass food over to her through a different window with bars for 7 years. He tells her that he urgently needs $1 million. They visit Svetka's home with her whole family trying to pull out Sasha out of a hole as she fixes a pipe. Oleg goes to ask to speak to Svetka's dad, Boris, for a minute. As everyone leaves, Ovel, the granddad, flushes the toilet only to break another pipe. Boris is angry at Svetka and Oleg for even suggesting that they'll sell the family house. Rita agrees with the other two. Oleg denies that the house will be sold, but rather he just needs a guarantor's letter to be able to loan. As everyone's getting in an argument, a piece of meteor falls through the house, hitting Ovel. In a panic, everyone runs outside, looking at the falling meteor pieces. They go to check if Ovel is still alive. Boris tells them that there was a meteorite and that someone needs to go find it. They start digging for it. Tolik, Svetka, and Oleg still looking for the meteorite, while the rest are dozing off. Morning comes and Oleg has finally found the meteorite that fell through the roof. Olive calls for Oleg to ask him about the meteorite. He motions for him to take a seat next to him on the bed. He tells Oleg that he's dying. Oleg's alarmed and lets him know that he'll tell the rest of the family and will call for an ambulance, but Ovel refuses, telling him that he has already lived a long life and had enough. He asks Oleg to let the whole family know to stay away. He tells Oleg to stay away too, and then dies. Looking for Svetka, Tolik wakes up Oleg, who has fallen asleep. He tells Tolik that he hasn't seen Svetka. Tolik tries to help him but couldn't explain it, so he asks Oleg to follow him instead. When they come down, Oleg immediately notices the missing meteorite. He asks Tolik where it is. Tolik explains that there was some liquid in the bucket with meteorite, which Boris tries to throw away but spills. Oleg asks him what does that have to do with anything, and finds Sasha bending numerous metal pipes. She is extremely strong. Sveta calls for Oleg, but he doesn't find her in her room. He hears her tell him to close the door and he asks where she is. Oleg hears another commotion downstairs and hurriedly follows the noise. It's Boris asking Rita to open the door. He forces it to open and finds Rita flying on the ceiling, freaking out. They try to bring her down, but Boris holds onto her. He starts flying too. Sveta finally comes down, but only her lower half is visible, which makes everyone scream in fear. Oleg releases Frita in fright and then finds a supposed dead Ovel walking about as well. They're having a meeting at the dining room with Ovel angry for still being alive. He's blaming the whole family for it. Sveta's panicking again because her lower half's disappearing again, while Rita's flying about tied to a chair. They suspected that everything's happening because of the meteorite. Oleg realizes that if anyone in the family is at least 20 meters away from each other, they lose their powers. During dinner, Tolik's upset over those who have powers but are just having dinner. He thinks they should do something especially to save dogs. Rita thinks they should perform at the circus and travel the world. Tolik is muttering to himself as he cares for their dogs when one starts barking at him. He stops for a moment and asks the dog to repeat itself and realizes that he can understand it. As Tolik shuts in the light, Oleg looks at a metal pipe Sasha threw out earlier and tries to bend it to see if he has powers too. The next morning, while he's in the toilet straining, Boris realizes that he can teleport. While out by the lake, Oleg tries to convince the family to rob a bank with Sveta doing all the work, and the family only need to stay close to each other so she can stay invisible. Sveta asks Oleg if he forgot to ask her, and he tells her that she's been sleeping so she hasn't had the chance to bring it up. She tells him no. Oleg asks Boris what he thinks, and he answers that when everything's perfect, you can only make things worse. He thinks they should sit quietly and wait for it to pass, just like a measle that will go away on its own. On their way back home, Sveta and Oleg get pulled aside by Valera and his goons. Valera, of course, is looking for his money from the caviars. Oleg tells him that the caviars had drowned and Valera answers that he owns them 1,002,000. He asks for a month, but Valera's leaving for China in a week. He gives Oleg until then to get their money or they'll take him with them to sell on the black market. Sveta finally agrees to Oleg's plan after he tells her what happened. Boris, Oleg and Sveta goes house hunting. She tells Boris that she wants to get him a beautiful house, which Boris politely declines, as he already has one. He argues with Sveta and Oleg. He doesn't want to join them out of principle. They see Sveta crying and Boris asks her what's wrong. She tells him that it's the first time she asked for help. Boris finally gives in and agrees to help them try to fool the bank. Back at home, they have a family meeting with Boris trying to convince the family to agree to the bank heist. The next morning, the family set different conditions before they'll do the bank heist. Ovel wants to be cremated. Rita wants to show someone else that she can fly. Tolik wants help finding a dog he lost. Oleg freaks out since all the demands are coming out of nowhere. Boris hears him and tells him that since he needs their help, he'll do what they ask. During bedtime, Oleg realizes that he can shoot water out of his pointer finger. Sveta teases him by asking if he can water the plants. The next day, they head for the bank to do their heist. They can still see Sveta's clothes even though she went invisible, so she sheds off her clothes. Oleg goes to accompany Sveta during their heist. At the car, since it's hot, Boris decides to drive the family to a cooler spot as Sveta enters the bank's staff room. The family gets into trouble when Boris blocks a van route. He refuses to move, so the van opts to push the car with their van. They're too far away from each other, and Sveta's exposed. They cancel their heist and are about to leave when a group of police approaches them for loitering especially close to the van containing money. Panicking, Boris teleports and finds himself inside the van. Oleg is furious and tells the whole family that they can no longer use the powers in front of other people and that they have to listen to him now. Rita pipes up that she has a show. Boris points out that Oleg just said no to any more exposure while Tolik teases Rita about missing her chance at the prom. The whole family teases her about it, with Tolik leading them a song to make her cry. Oleg feels bad and promises to allow Rita to do her show. At the show, Rita's excited, especially since there's a lot of people waiting for her. The show starts, but instead of flying towards the stage, she leaves deciding that she doesn't want to perform. Oleg and Sveta chase after her. Valera and his goons find Oleg and they knock him out and present him as the first ever flying man instead. He gets thrown around and beaten up. Leaving, he finds the whole family waiting for him without any idea what happened on the stage. Rita promises to fly it next time, but Oleg tells her that she was right and the audience wasn't great. Sveta asks him if he's upset, to which Oleg scoffs at and tells her that you can only be upset at something real and alive. He calls the whole family a virus, a weapon of mass destruction that can be sent into an enemy's camp to destroy everything. He continues to call them lazy, selfish, and proud, and stupid, since they're Bobrovs. He doesn't want to spend another second with them. He says that he'll sort the money out of his own without any of their help and leaves. We see the family back in the car with the tied-up Oleg in the back. Oleg asks them what they're going to do, and Boris tells him that the problem with him is that he underestimates people. Rita flies and ties up chains on one of the bank's windows while Sasha goes to block one of the end of the street with the huge truck. Boris hands over to Sasha one end of the chain and she pulls it on, destroying the window and leaving a huge opening at the side of the bank. Ovel goes to distract the drunk men that are watching the family while Boris teleports into the bank and Sasha throws an invisible Sveta after him. Rita flies with Sasha next. Sveta was typing in the passcode to one of the doors, but Sasha goes to kick the door open instead. She carries the safe back to the huge opening and throws it out. The police are on their way when Tolik calls for the stray dogs. As soon as the police arrives, they get chased by stray dogs and they head back inside the car. The family is moving the bags of money. The family is moving the bags of money from inside the safe to the car. When they finish, they finally make their escape. Ovel setting something on fire and running. The whole family is happy with their success. They park by the road to celebrate when Ovel finally speaks up to remind them their deal. He tells them that he wants to live life by the sea, which is where they are exactly. Oleg agrees and says goodbye. He tells him that if he meets Oleg's family, to send his love to them. The whole family goes to pay their respects to Oleg and leaves by the bench as he looks over the cliff. Rita sees Ovel fall over and asks Boris to stop so she can rush back and pick him up. With the whole family going back, Ovel's alive again and reprimanding his grandchildren. Boris approaches the family and suggests taking a vacation and waiting until the heat is off them, but each of them has their own plans without any intention of coming back home. Ovel tells everyone that he has called the police and if they don't leave, they'll be arrested. Everyone starts rushing back to the car and Olive finally dies peacefully. While driving, the money being split, Sveta tells Oleg that they should return the money and go back to get Ovel. Oleg refuses and Sveta asks him to get out of the car. Oleg tells Sveta that nothing has changed, that he's happy they're parting, and leaves the family. Oleg pays Valera what he owes him and heads for the airport to leave for Thailand. While waiting for his flight, he hears from the news that the Bovra's family trying to bargain for Ovel's body, offering the police 100,000 just so they can get him. They are arrested and locked up. During the family's trial, Oleg enters with Ovel in the wheelchair. Ovel immediately wakes up. Sveta disappears and Rita starts flying again. Ovel, in anger for still being alive, starts hitting everyone with his walking stick. In the chaos, everyone starts running and the family with Oleg runs out of the court. They escape riding a police vehicle. The movie ends with the whole family climbing inside a metal container. Oleg struck a deal with Valera and they're leaving the country for Thailand, then China. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.